happy Thanksgiving, or post-Thanksgiving, and Black Friday, happy Christmas shopping day, whatever you want to call it. It's good to see you here. My name is Beth, our Steadfast Ascent, and today I just wanted to share a short little video message with you, actually in response to a comment that I received the other day. Shane said a very incredibly nice thing to me, and I'm going to paraphrase it. And first of all, thank you so much for all of your comments. I really enjoy reading them, and it makes this entire thing so much more fun when we get to participate together. So thank you. Feel free to leave a comment here sharing what you think about bouncing around in worship. Now, I really appreciate Shane's comment because the way he structured it, and again, I'm going to paraphrase it, I'm not going to say it directly, but the way he structured it shows me that he's not just trying to show me that he's right, which I really appreciate, even though you are in some ways right. What he said was, why bounce around at church? That distracts from God. And he added that he's been a worship leader, he's heard the arguments for and against, and instead of prescribing what you should or shouldn't do in church, he said, listen to God, he will tell you. Well, friends, I would like to tell you some of the conversations that God and I have about this subject, because I've got to be honest. I live in a space, a Western space specifically, that bouncing is distracting. It is. And in the Western conservative church culture, absolutely, you are right. But this is just a church tradition, because bouncing around in the African church is not distracting. Everyone is doing it. So we're talking completely on a cultural context, and in a lot of sense then, culturally, Shane, I think you're right. I think you're right that bouncing around might distract from God. So why bounce around in church? And you may or may not have arguments, you may or may not have heard arguments, but for me, basically the church tradition that I have been raised in that would say, don't bounce around, it's distracting, says that when we gather together, we want to be solemn, we want to be somber, it's very puritanical, we want to set our focus on the Lord and not on us. And so we diminish ourselves in order to give greater attention to God. And this isn't wrong in any way, shape, or form. And this isn't bad in any way, shape, or form. However, the church that I'm currently attending, our culture isn't like that. The church that I'm attending looks at the story of David dancing around before the ark and saying to Michael, I'll be more undignified than this. And we say, we want that. That's the relationship we want with Jesus. We want that on fire, dancey around, passionate kind of relationship to him. But doesn't that, you might say, overemphasize you and underemphasize Jesus? And maybe if from a cultural standpoint, maybe it does. I'll give you that. And maybe it doesn't. Maybe me fully expressing with my full body my praise and adoration to Jesus is a way of me showing him, not only are you worth all of my focus and all of my deep, solemn, somber attention, but you are worth my celebration also. And I desire not just to give you some subtle sign of celebration. I want to give you everything. I want to give you my entire body. I want everything that's in me, everything that's a part of me, all of my joy, all of my celebration, all of my love for you to be on display. I want everyone to know just how much and just how beautiful I think you are. And because I'm in a church whose culture that is, this is a beautiful expression and a beautiful place that I get to express. And so I'm very thankful for my church leadership and for our church culture that I get to participate in this way, worshiping Jesus, bouncing around, guys. And yes, I got a Pod Go wireless because I wanted to cut the wire so I could bounce around more easily, so I could be less hindered in reaching out to Jesus and reaching up and in experiencing him and in bringing him down into our church services. Obviously, and that's just imagery, because obviously he's always there. He's always inside of us. It's not like he ever leaves. That's not like omnipresent doesn't mean that So hear what I'm saying as I say that is I desire to know God with my entire self. I don't just desire to know God with my intellectual self. I don't just desire to know God on a somber level. And there are certain times in a service where that is how I engage with Jesus. Like, I don't bounce around the entire worship set. I bounce around mostly in the hype songs when I am celebrating who he is and what he's done and what he's doing in our communities. But when we do get somber, I chill out. I stand still. I get down on my knees. Like, there are lots of different postures that are appropriate for knowing Jesus. And my favorite one happens to be dancing around like a fool. Thank you, David, for setting the precedent for that. I really, really appreciate it. So what do you think? What are appropriate ways of talking to Jesus? What are appropriate ways of expressing who God is and how we experience him or don't experience him? And does it distract from God? Does your expression distract? In what circumstances does it distract from God? Under what conditions, in what cultures, and in what places? Because let me tell you, when I go to the Catholic services, I am not bouncing around. I'm not even lifting my hands. I'm just there. I am matching the culture. I am matching the environment that I'm in. And I never leave a liturgical service without tears, because God is there too. And God meets me, at least, in that way too. So what do you guys think? I'd love to hear your guys in the comments. And if this video has been awesome for you, I'd love to hear more and to see more from you. So thank you, Shane. Thank you, Jesus. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Thanksgiving weekend. And I am, again, so very thankful for you.